Have you achieved success and a high income, but still lack personal fulfillment and work-life balance? You're in the right place. Welcome to the Successful But Struggling podcast. Join us as Erin, Eunicia, Joanne, and Mim share transformative insights and practical strategies just for you. Discover real stories and lessons that will elevate your personal satisfaction, professional accomplishment, and financial empowerment.
Welcome to another episode of Successful But Struggling. And I am here with one of my favorite people, Dr. Erin Hurley, pediatrician and coach. And this is our series in talking about stress. And today we're going to expand more on how to get support as a way to lower stress. And this is so important. I love this because it's so easy for us. Erin and I were both nurturers and caretakers, and it is in our nature to help. We will be the first ones to help. But yet, I'll raise my hand to say that it is very difficult for me to ask for help. And it's actually, sometimes I have to admit, sometimes even rejecting of the help, which is so sad. And it's not negative. It's more like, no, I can do it all myself, or I don't want to bother anyone. And this is such an important conversation when we are successful and then every now and then we struggle. Sometimes it's asking ourselves of where do we need help? And Erin, I'm so looking forward to this conversation. And I would love to hear your opinion on let's just start there. This sounds like a simple question, but I hope that you can all listen to the depth of the question. How do you know when and if you need help or support?
Ooh, that's a deep one, Joanne. How do you know? We've talked about this before, about where is your awareness? And if you have no awareness about what it even looks like to get help or support, or you're not seeing other people get support, then you may be stuck with no awareness. And then, as you said, sometimes we need to connect with ourselves, connect with our bodies. Are we relying on, I call it like the stress hormone, cortisol and caffeine to get through your day every day? Are you powering through and using grit to force your way to the end of the day to just get through and just surviving? And then can we get curious to say, I wonder, what could happen if that didn't have to be my reality every day? What if I could have energy at the end of my workday to be fully present for my family? And if you're not seeing anyone who is demonstrating something different, maybe we need to look outside our circles. For me, I had little awareness until I was 50 and started working with a coach about how my way of doing things was really damaging to my health, to my mindset, to my relationships. But everyone I looked at, my sisters, even though they didn't work in healthcare, my mom, she was a counselor. She didn't work, she had a piece of healthcare, but the physicians, the women physicians that surrounded me, they were all just as stressed as I was. And so my awareness is just, this is the way it is. This is the way it has to be, I guess. Until someone challenged my mindset and helped me get curious to say, I wonder, is there a different way to experience life that's less stressful?
Wow, Erin, my brain is spinning. And something that comes to mind that I say this a lot, and I've said this in this podcast, and I say it a lot in when I'm coaching a lot of the women physicians I coach, is what comes to mind when you hear the word help and support. What is that pre-programmed definition? Because of what you're saying, Erin, the people that we were looking up to and learning from, they were probably great examples of other things, but when we're trying to shift, when we're trying to create change and different habits, if we're trying to do things differently, we have to challenge a lot of these pre-programmed definitions to do something different. And I know for myself, this asking for help and support, it was definitely one of those things, because and I think for me also culturally as a Puerto Rican, it's, the matriarchy, and you take care of everyone in your family as well. And, you're the one giving help, not the one asking for help. And I think as physicians, we both have that as well. And it came to mind also, women physician I was coaching this week, and this was exactly what we were talking about, because she's been working with me for a while, and it was beautiful because we were reviewing where she was before, and a lot of the changes that she's been able to create in her life, I was thinking about her because of what she said. She was doing it all, like so many of us. You might be listening and you might be thinking, yes, I am this and that, and I take care of the kids and I go to work and all the things. But then if that's at the cost of your well-being, your energy, your presence at the end of the day, and you come home and you're not present for your family, and that's like I reviewed in the last episode, that's where your values are right now. You want to align with those values of being more present and have more of the good energy, then you need to make changes. And so often the change is asking for support, getting that leverage. It's such an important conversation. I'm so glad that we're talking about this, Erin. And I'm going to give you another question.
And I'm going to say one
go
thing really quickly. What a person that you and I and the rest of the hosts on our podcast follow, Brendan Burchard, has this saying that really resonates. Just because you can does not mean you should. And I'm going to take it to another layer. This is some wisdom my husband shared with me when I was in a leadership position and was looking at making some changes in my life because things just weren't working out. And he said, if you put your hand in a bucket of water, it takes up space. So that was me as the leader of my organization in this clinic that I had helped create. My hands in the bucket as the leader. He said, what happens when you remove your hand from that bucket of water? It fills in. So even if you're the best person for the job, even if you know how to do that task better than anyone else in your family or on your team, if you remove your hand from that bucket of water, it has the ability to fill in that space that you used to take up. And you can now move your hand to something else and let somebody else step in.
I like that. I'm going to steal that or borrow that analogy. So powerful. Left me thinking.
And you may even be doing that person a favor who's now stepping in to fill that role. I look at right now, we're in the middle of the Olympics. And 4 years ago in the Olympics, most people know who Simone Biles is, world famous gymnast from the USA. 4 years ago, she took her hand out of that bucket of water and said, I can't do this. It's not healthy for me. And when she stepped out of that role, what happened? One of her teammates stepped in and she got to shine. And that would have never happened in the same way had Simone not stepped back to say, you can do this. You can step into this role. And she did so well.
Yeah. And this is a little tangent, but kudos to Simone and her showing up in this Olympics this year, and how much of an advocate she's been for mental health awareness and prevention and her own needs. And we can see the fruit of that now. I mean, she's shining like the superstar that she is. So, this is a little tangent here for my own
But it's not a tangent.
Yeah.
No, and I heard her saying that she does therapy. She meets with her therapist regularly. She says, why would I stop doing that just because I'm at the Olympics halfway around the world?
Yeah.
And that she was doing the same practices leading up to the Olympics through the Olympics. Yeah. And that's just part of her day. And I think, look at if you don't like the word help, look at the support she's getting and look at the different outcomes. So we can choose differently with leaning on support and get very different outcomes. For me, it was working with a coach. I have worked with a therapist before as well. But if what you're doing isn't working, then asking yourself, what support is going to help me get to that next level? Because just because you can doesn't mean you should.
I love it. No, and she's also a good example of getting support, exactly what we're talking about today. And I wanted to ask you, because we know this, We know it's important. We actually give this advice. We help others get that support that they need. Yet, so many of us here struggle with it. And why? What do you think gets in our way?
So many things. I look at it as what's the resistance. So if you want to be a well-oiled, machine running smoothly, getting good, mileage on your gas, all of those things, if you have a lot of friction, it's going to slow you down. You won't be able to go as far. You're going to be wasting resources. And there's so many things that cause resistance or get in our way. One is a lack of seeing others, asking for help. We might have our ego or pride get in the way. What will it look like? For example, many of the women that I coach in medicine, they've never had help keeping up their house. So with housekeeping or with yard work. And they've just done it all themselves. And they're already dealing with such a heavy emotional and, weight and burden as a physician, as a healthcare provider, or maybe you're a business owner, or maybe you're an attorney. Think about not just the hours that you put in, but the emotional toll that your work takes. And maybe it's running your family. And give yourself some credit. The amount of emotional and physical toll that someone can relieve by delegating, by paying someone else to do that work for you, it can be enormous. But if you're not aware of what would that feel like, because you've never experienced it. I know one of my clients, I encouraged her, follow through, hire that housekeeper. She didn't live locally, so I couldn't share mine with her, but I've shared my housekeepers with probably 15 other families. And then I get to hear back about what impact did that one tiny change do? She said she couldn't believe the weight that was lifted off her shoulders, knowing, I don't have to do this task. I don't have to put it on my list of things to do. It's going to be taken care of on Friday when the housekeepers come. And she couldn't believe the weight that was lifted from her. She'd never experienced that before. And another client talked about how she listened to my advice and went ahead and got a housekeeper, not all the time, but maybe even quarterly for her. And she said, just having that extra help for me, I know I breathe better when they tidy up the piles on the counters and decrease some of the clutter. I can breathe better just walking in the room and I go, ah. And the sense of relief. With this woman, her resistance was not only her own resistance. Can I afford to pay for this? There's been some changes in our family dynamics. Is this a worthwhile, expense versus investment? That's a whole nother topic that we've talked about. Can I afford to do this with our current circumstances? And not only that, but generationally and maybe even culturally, if your family had not had that support, if your parent was maybe a single parent, worked hard to support you, and they never had help with the housework or the landscaping, they just did it all, they're maybe going to provide even more resistance, or you're going to feel shame that you're getting help. It's not that you can't do it, but should you be doing it? And so this person got over her own resistance and now has to deal with ongoing resistance from a parent who almost, I don't want to say shames her, but makes her feel bad for getting that support. And her thought is, I want to be more present for my child and my spouse. And I know that helps me be more present. And I think that's beautiful.
Yes, that's a good point of thinking of the reward. And I as you were talking, I was thinking of also the resistance that I hear from the women physician I coach. And a lot of times, yes, ego gets in the way, but then there's also some of the resistance I also hear is it's easier for me to do it. Or I've asked for help and they've done it wrong, so then I have to go in and fix it. Or they're gonna then expect something from me. It's gonna come back to bite me. And all those things can be true, but we should not use our past experiences to define what we want. And some of these things are definitely worth trying again. And something else that can be beneficial that I say a lot when I'm coaching is we need to ask the right questions, because the best question is not, can I do this? Because most of the time the answer is going to be yes. Of course, we're so resilient. And sometimes that resiliency goes against us. And then a better question is, like you're saying, is this the best use of my time? Can I be doing something more important and more aligned with my values if I free up time and energy? And that is the right question to ask ourselves. And when we see it from that filter, then it'll be easier to say, oh, yes, let me ask for support here. This will definitely help me. It'll be a good reward later on.
And to go even deeper on that topic, Joanne, is when you, let's say you earn, 3 times more than the person who's going to clean your house. In 1 hour of you focusing, whether it's running your business, in a medical practice, whatever your profession is, if in 1 hour you can get multiple hours of help, is it really, as you said, a good return on your investment of time? You can't buy that hour back, but you can if you pay someone else to clean for you. And especially if there's a differential in pay between what you earn and what the help you hire. And there's a story I tell about, what we hang on to may be keeping us from where we're supposed to go. So there's this trap, and it's a hole in the ground, and it's narrow, and then it's kind of dug out wider beyond the surface of the ground. And so if you picture putting your hand inside this narrow opening and it's wider and there's nuts in there, it's like a raccoon trap or some kind of small animal trap. They put their hand inside the narrow opening and then they grab the nuts or whatever's in that trap and they make a fist. And because they're holding on to those nuts, they're now trapped. If they were to let go, they could easily remove their paw from what's keeping them trapped and run off and do the next thing they're supposed to do. But because they won't let go of what's in that trap, they can't move. And can we look at our own lives and say, what am I hanging on to? And, is our perfectionism, of course, somebody's going to do it differently than you. I load the dishwasher like my husband. I no longer wash the dishes before I put them in, and I load it the way he wants. I'm not going to argue over that anymore. And I save time because his way is more efficient. I don't rearrange. I don't take time to rearrange it. That's a waste of my time and fruitless. And you can pause. What if you took 10 minutes or an hour to teach that person to do it more like you want it done? Now that 1 hour investment, when somebody's saving you an hour week after week after week, let's slow down and do some of that important work so that you can delegate with confidence and allow that person that you're delegating to or paying to do that job to do it up to your par. And now you've built yourself a team, so it doesn't all rely on you. It doesn't all fall on your shoulders, which is a really heavy burden when you're carrying all of those things and not letting go of any of them.
So good. And talking about rewards and focusing on what's on the other side of all the other benefits, what else can we review in terms of that bigger impact and the positive ripple effect that we want to create?
There's many. 2 of them I'm going to share. One is a recent story for myself. So as we've talked before, I just had my first kid go off to college, my second of 3 moving out of the house. We had a big going away party. My husband's new job is taking him out of town 95% of the time. So I'm running the household and trying to get all this stuff done. And I was like, I can't do it myself. Our yard was in a bit of a mess. I thought we could do more things. I had my youngest son's friends come over and help me clean and organize. I had my cleaning crew come over more times than normal. And I hired a gardener because our other one was no longer available to come over and do a yard cleanup. So I had a ton of help for about a week and a half. And I got more done in about a week and a half with the help that I hired than most people might get done in 6 months. It was phenomenal. And not only did I then get to enjoy that space, I got to enjoy the party. And I had a couple sister-in-laws. They had some things go on, so they were going to help and they couldn't. I said, no problem. I'm going to ask my friend. And I asked one of my friends, hey, do you mind coming over and helping? I asked my decorator, hey, could you come over to the party early and help me arrange the flowers that my friend picked up for me at the market? I was delegating like nobody's business. And the result of that was that I was busy, yes, managing a lot of things, yes. And I really enjoyed that party. I really enjoyed the time. I wasn't fried and frazzled and angry and frustrated because I had to do so much. I could celebrate and enjoy just like I'd wanted to, but I had to bring intention to how I managed my time and resources. Did it cost something? Of course, it cost money, but I didn't have enough time in the day to do all of those things myself. So the ripple effect was I now was showing up as my best self to these amazing celebrations for my child. And I was also role modeling for others. Look what we can do. Look what amazing feat I just pulled off in a week and a half with my husband gone, my other son gone, my daughter working 3 jobs. It was an amazing feat. And I did it with grace, confidence, and I didn't feel guilty about asking for that help. And I showed others, look what you can do. Look what's possible. And my hope is then the ripple effect, like that client that I said, the generational difference. What if this became the norm? When you need help, you ask for it. No guilt.
I love that. An example that comes to mind, in which I'll share hopefully as a way for us to start thinking about these things differently and outside the box. But when I moved to this house some years ago, it was early in December. It was a mess, house, like boxes everywhere. I love Christmas and I love to decorate. And I was like, this year I'm not decorating. My kids were still younger. And one of the ladies who was helping me with the house, and this is what she does, she said, let me decorate the house for you. Just pay for the decorations. And I was in my head, I was thinking, who spends money having someone else decorate for them? To me, it was silly. It was like, this is a waste of money, right? Again, my pre-programmed views. And then I think she read my mind and then said, this is a good use. It's okay. She said, this is my gift for you. And I said, okay. And I came home from work one day and the house looked like a Christmas store in the best of ways. And I say that story a lot because it was my emotions of what you're saying, the enjoyment I felt coming home and seeing the house beautifully decorated a way that I would have never done it. And the time she saved at a difficult moment, because it was a good thing that I was moving, but it definitely not a priority, but it brought so much joy for myself and my family. And it forced me to think outside the box. And now I actually save. I know you might be thinking like, again, like whatever, but it's important to me, right? And I was sharing this actually last year in my group coaching. And then I helped try to bring this up as a way to say, so you think outside the box. Where can you spend maybe more money than you think you want to get help? And one of the girls said, I shouldn't say girls, women physician, she said that she paid a teenager, a neighbor, to decorate to a little bit and to wrap the Christmas gifts. She has 2 little young girls, so it's, a lot of gifts. And she said, it felt great because I'm helping these teenagers get money and it saved me hours of work and stress. Anyway, long story, but it's just to promote us thinking outside the box of things that are worth investment, because I love how you said the enjoyment and the role modeling, because we didn't learn this. We didn't learn that it's the ask, and we're talking about spending money, but it's not even about that. It's the giving ourselves permission to say, you don't need to do it all. It's okay to delegate. It's okay to leverage. And that can actually bring you more joy and peace in your life.
And I did right. There was some help that cost me money, and there was some help that I asked for that was free.
Yeah.
But my friend that I always go to the Saturday market with, I usually buy flowers there. She lives on the other side of the market. So on the day of the party, I said, hey, do you mind showing up early? Number one, go by the market and pick up some flowers, which she was happy to do. And then, do you mind coming a little early and helping me set up? And she helped me blow up balloons and set things up, not only that day, but the day before. There was no cost to that. We both have invested in this relationship. She was more than happy to help me. And she has a relationship like a fill-in grandmother for my daughter. She was so happy and excited to help prepare for the celebration. So it was a win-win on both sides. Sometimes when you ask for help, and there's one more example I want to share that's really powerful. This very strong woman that's in my coaching program, who's very independent. She will be at the top of her class in whatever she does, very driven. And now because of life circumstances, has moved in with her parents. And I love this power of coaching when I said to her, I see this as a benefit, not just for you, but for your parents, because your relationship with them is changing. You're helping them around the house. Yes, they're giving you a place to stay, but you are successfully being a daughter to them and you're helping them. I don't see this as a weakness. I see this as a strength because you're now learning to be in a relationship where you're asking for help when you've always done it yourself, when you've always been independent. And I said, how do you think your parents feel being able to support you in this way? And what a gift to them, not a burden.
I love that. Let yourself be surprised of the gifts that we give others too, not just ourselves when we ask for support and we give support. That's lovely. Thank you for sharing. This has been such a great discussion because again, it's one of those things that we brush off and we don't, give it importance. And it is so important not to keep on using the same word because we need to know when we ask for help and like you said, of having the awareness. Where are you? What's that season in your life? Who is it? And sometimes we keep on going to the same people and like the examples that you just gave and saying like, my usual go-tos are not there. Who else can I ask? And knowing the connection and having that curiosity. And I love what you said, like Brendan Bouchard tells us, just because you can doesn't mean you should. And those good questions to ask ourselves. And think deep into your own resistance. What gets in your way? You heard some examples, but look inside and we need that insight. And that's how we move forward. And love the ripple effect of celebration and enjoying life and bringing the intention and how we role model. So I feel my heart is full in this recording. Thank you so much. And what else do you have, like one nugget to wrap this up?
One powerful reminder. We don't know how many days we have left on this planet. Don't wait too long to ask for help. If you can ask for help or support now, and that's going to save you an hour that you can now spend with your child. Like, let's go move forward in our lives with no regrets. Let's stop putting off our enjoyment, our celebrations. What is it what's one thing you can commit to today, this week, that will allow you to celebrate because you've decreased your stress by a little bit? One person you can lean on, one thing that you can do, commit to that, and maybe put it in the comments. What is that one thing you'll do and commit to lean into support in order to decrease your stress?
Love this. And remember, if you want more resources, if you want to connect with any of us one-to-one, feel free to get to our website, successfulbutstruggling.com, and stay tuned for our next episode.
Don't miss out on more strategies that will elevate you to new heights. Visit successfulbutstruggling.com now, where you'll discover exclusive resources and the opportunity to connect with each of us individually. There you can dive deeper into how you, too, can take your personal and professional game to the next level. And if you're serious about optimizing your results, take 2 quick steps now. Number 1, connect with us on the website. And number 2, tune in to the next episode.